The next, Malcolm has the opportunity, and the next election will determine whether he succeeds or whether he doesn't. Yeah, but it'll be the same for Kevin Rudd. Kevin Rudd will go out eventually in defeat. They all do. This is democracy. You know, at least in Australia, when you go out, you don't go out with a bullet, as you do in most of the countries of the world.
Let's go back to that day in Parliament. Do you accept that you're and the barely expressed glee we were talking about, do you accept that your mere presence on the backbench was a threat to Malcolm Turnbull's leadership?
Never. Never. No, because if I wanted to be a threat to Malcolm Turnbull's leadership, I could have put up my hand on any one of 100 days and nominated for the leadership. The fact that I didn't meant that he was entirely secure. Well, if I'd wanted to, I could have.
How secure would anyone feel knowing there's someone on the backbench who could put up their hand on any given day and round up the numbers and take it over from them?
Very secure, since this person was showing no interest in doing so and had said that he wouldn't do so.
That he wouldn't know that until the very day when you left.
Well,
like all of the Australian public, like the press, like the media, and possibly everyone apart from your own family.
Well, Tony, I thought I had an obligation, having been re-elected, to come back to the Parliament. I write about it in the paperback edition of my book. That I never thought it was the right thing to do, to be re-elected and then just vacate. I thought I had an obligation to my constituents. A lot of people thought, well, that's pretty old-fashioned. But I do think the members of Parliament have got to show that they take Parliament seriously, if they want the public to take it seriously. And I make this other point, by the way, and I'll make it, for you to think about. Once upon a time, when a minister resigned, for example, the minister went into the House of Representatives and explained why. Quite often, the Prime Minister would go into the House of Representatives and explain why he, always he's in Australia, was accepting the resignation. Now a minister resigns, take Joel Fitzgibbon, I don't wish him any ill, he resigns. It doesn't even give an explanation as to why. If you're lucky, you might do an exclusive interview somewhere for some good press coverage, and that's it. You are resigning a commission as a minister, and the choice of forum was always the House of Representatives,
but I wonder,
and it should still be, in my view.
Just on that, I wonder if you have entirely explained your reasons for not putting up your hand and taking the leadership. And my question is simply this: did you decide that the election was unwinnable, and therefore there was no point in putting up your hand and taking the leadership from Malcolm Turnbull because it would just mean going to an electoral defeat?
No, I had decided before the 2007 election that it was in the interests of, I believed, the Liberal Party, John Howard, me, and I believe the nation, that we have a transition of leadership. I thought it was our best chance of winning. I put my case to my colleagues, I put it to John Howard, and it wasn't accepted. Okay, it wasn't accepted. I accept that, take it on the chin. And my view was that after having been the deputy leader for 13.5 years, having argued the case for leadership transition and having not had that argument accepted by the party, that the best thing to do for the party was to free it up for the next generation. I thought others ought to have their go. I knew what it was like.
Do you think that's what's happened?
I knew what it was like to sit around for 13.5 years as the party's deputy leader, thinking, every next month would be your chance. And after a while, I got bored with it. It was like a soap opera. I don't know what the voters were thinking. I was bored about reading about myself. And I thought, look, time to give these guys a go. And in all fairness, it gave Brendan a go. It didn't work out. It's given Malcolm a go. And that's why I say Malcolm's had a pretty good run, He was given a good go. After 3 years in the Parliament, or 3 and a bit years, he was able to become its leader. He has every opportunity now, can go to an election in circumstances where he doesn't have to look over his shoulder. And I knew what it was like, as it were, to be bunched in on the rails, one back, and I didn't like it. I didn't think anyone else should go through that.
All right. You've also talked about the Liberal Party's secret report into why you lost the last election and its recommendations on candidate selection, on campaign finance and so on. Why has it been kept secret, first of all?
Who knows?
Well, Malcolm Turnbull knows, because he said today he's read it, it's been widely discussed, and it's been acted upon. I mean, do you think that's true?
Well, let's fix the problem then.
What was the problem?
Well, I don't know. If it's been acted on, it's fixed the problem. We can all rest assured that there'll be no weakness in the organisation at the next election. Well, nobody will be able to say that was the problem.
Quite obviously, you're being sarcastic.
Well, do you believe that? Does the shadow cabinet believe that? Does the party organisation believe that?
Does Malcolm Turnbull believe it?
I don't know if he believes it, but anyway, Tony, the good news is it's been fixed.
What do you? That is quite funny, but what do you think the problem is?
Well, I would have thought if you'd lost an election, you'd want to know why, so that you could make sure that you didn't repeat the mistakes. I would have thought you'd want to look at the campaign performance. I would have thought you'd want to look at the fundraising opportunity. But the good news is we don't have to, because it's been fixed.
Well, in actual fact, Malcolm Turnbull has a plan for campaign finance. He says it should be limited to donations from individuals. There should be a low cap on those. He's effectively saying no money from corporations, no money from unions, no money from associations, only donations from individuals with a tight cap on it. Do you back that call?
Well, I don't know if that's the Liberal Party's position.
Well, I think it's clearly not the Liberal Party's position, because it's been reported that there's been fury in the Liberal Party organisation over that position being expressed by the leader. Well,
to me, this is a decision for the Liberal Party organisation. This is why you have an organisation. An organisation is responsible for running a campaign and responsible for fundraising. So, I make the point that this is a matter for the organisation to decide.
And in this case, the leader appears to have ignored.
Well, he's entitled to his view, and he's obviously put his view forward. But look, this is one of the points I make in my book. The Liberal Party is a party of thousands of members, and many parliamentary members. And these thousands of members, by the way, have been members of the party for 10, 20, 30 years and go out and hand out your how to vote cards for you every time there's an election and run the little afternoon teas raising money. They're entitled to a say. And I think one of the weaknesses of the Liberal Party, as I write in my book, is what I call the cult of leadership. That what has grown up is this idea that the person who is in the leadership from time to time, and I'm not particularly singling out Malcolm here because I think it applied to John Howard, can make these announcements which will bind the party, maybe over 10 years or decades or more, long after the leader for the time being is gone. And I think this is where the membership of the Liberal Party has to assert itself in these things. This is why I think it should come to grips with this report. This is why I think it should be heard on these particular matters. And I believe, and I still am a member of the Liberal Party, I'm a member of the Parliamentary Liberal Party, this is where the organisation ought to get itself enfranchised.
Are you shocked by the lack of transparency in relation to this report?
Well, you see, Tony, this is where the Liberal Party needs its organisation. It's now in opposition. It can't rely on public service departments. It can't rely on ministerial staff. Now it is reliant upon the organisation. I say this to the MPs, treat that organisation with a bit of respect, because you are very, very reliant upon it. Treat the membership with a bit of respect, because they're the people you're going to want to be handing out your how to vote cards come election day. And from my point of view, the Liberal Party has got to remember the things that it stands for and the membership. Things like smaller government, lower taxes, freedom in industrial relations. If you walk away from some of those things, you won't be strengthening your cause at the next election.
I've got to ask you just a final question. I mean, it's often been said of Malcolm Turnbull that he's actually not really a true Liberal Party member, that he's a sort of party of one. Is that a fear that you have, that he's not imbued with the history of the party, that he hasn't been in politics long enough, he hasn't been in the Liberal Party long enough to actually get this?
Look, he's the elected leader of the Liberal Party, and that's a great honour. And it's a great honour that it's entrusted on him. But you've got to understand that also there is an organisation, there is a membership, and it's important to always remember that. And the Liberal Party has been around long before I came along, long before Malcolm came along, and it'll be around, I hope, long after we've all gone. The party and its principles and its ideals, I hope, will live for a very long period of time, and it ought to be treated with respect. And that's some of the things that I've written about in this book.
Peter Costello, once again, we only seem to have scratched the surface, even talking over a long period of time, but we thank you very much for coming to talk to us on Lateline.
Thanks very much, Tony.